So me and my friend challenge each other every week to create one game design. The theme for this week was design a war game played with only pen and paper. Now, when we were younger, we used to be in class, in art classes together and just start drawing a bunch of stuff on our paper and make these crazy ass war games where we fight each other and it was complete bullshit. There weren't really any rules behind them or anything. And also, it was probably a good reason why we failed a bunch of classes when we were younger, because we were always doing a bunch of stuff like that. I think for this week it's a great challenge to have. And I'm gonna show you what I made. Now, for my game, you gotta start with a piece of paper, fold it once, and get out your scissors. Or let's be real here, if you're doing this in class, you probably don't have scissors with you, so you gotta borrow them from your neighbor. Then you cut off the lower part and cut out 16 equally large squares and give each player eight of them. Give them eight squares. Now each player gets to draw 10 tanks on his 8 tiles and 4 2-centimeter walls on their squares to block off opponent shots. Once you've drawn in your tanks and your walls, determine who goes first and then start placing the squares one after the other into a 4x4 grid. Now, when you're done placing all 16 squares, the battle starts. Your goal is to destroy all of the opponent's tanks before he destroys yours. Pretty obvious. And every turn you can either rotate one of your tiles or you can move a row or column of tiles one up with the piece going out, wrapping around. Then, after you rotate it or push the tile or a row, you shoot one of your tanks, and then every other tank in your line of sight of the tank gets destroyed. You can use a ruler or a pen to see which tank is in the line of sight. And with this, you really, of course, you want to go for some large multi-kills. You want to get a couple of your opponent's tanks, but watch out you don't walk into one of his, that he gets a couple of euros immediately. So yeah, that's my game idea. And I gotta be honest, I had a lot of trouble coming up with really anything useful. For this week, I just on Thursday, 3 days ago, I had one idea and then I iterated on it once and came up with this. I mean, right now, the biggest problem with it is the line of sight thing. When you get out your ruler to measure your tank's shots, you're probably not gonna line it up correctly and you're gonna move a bunch of tiles, and it's kind of annoying and it's kind of not that playable right now. However, I would think that this design could work in a digital game, but I'm not that sold on it that I would make it. In conclusion, I really enjoyed this week's challenge because it was really hard to come up with anything, and it forced me to make something which I normally would have never done. I would have never made that game, and it's Exciting.